Alright, so here is this week's weekly Nightfall. It's the Corrupted. I'm doing a solo flawless master run. The acute burn is arc, and we've got lightning crystals, so I'm going all out using Arc Titan with Touch of Thunder, pulse grenades, and Cuirass of the Falling Star. Mainly because Heart of Inmost Light with lightning crystals as the modifier is frankly just overkill. Like you get enough ability regen that you don't need Heart of Inmost Light unless you're dead set on going crazy and having empowered grenades and all that. But using pulse grenades is actually a good play anyway, because especially if you're not using Heart of Inmost Light, you get more pulse grenades than you do storm grenades. Even though storm grenades have a shorter cooldown, pulse grenades produce ionic traces as they do damage. So that's why I just decided to go without Heart of Inmost, go with Cuirass of the Falling Star. And the main reason I wanted to do that was because I was doing this experimentally on whatever the last day that lightning crystals came out was. I wanted to see if how much damage you could do to Sidia with Thundercrash, so that you would potentially be able to avoid going into the Ascendant Realm to hunt her down, and face more champions and take her shield down again. I wanted to see if I could just basically nuke her, and I realized it was possible because the first T-Crash I did to her, when you first break her shield, I did more than half of her health. And then for the second phase, I couldn't remember where she teleported to, but basically the last time that you break her shield before she wants to teleport, she's going to be on the left asteroids, left from center. You break her shield there, you could damage her for a second, and then she teleports over to the right side, and she's got like a 3-second window where you can do more damage to her. So that is enough time to get another T-Crash off and just kill her right there, and she doesn't teleport. You could do this on Grandmaster as well. Not solo, I don't think. Most likely not. But you can basically one cycle, or technically 2 cycle her, because you're breaking her shield twice. But you can kill her before she teleports, and that's the way to do it fast on Grandmaster if you're in a coordinated team. Everybody just kind of goes to center. They have the relic balls charged up so that you can one-shot her shield. You do that by passing it back and forth between your teammates. And then somebody pops a well, somebody shoots a tether, and somebody T-crashes, whatever. You just give everything you got, linears, and you can basically, as long as you know where she's going when you break her shield, and you have a coordinated team effort, you can kill her super easily. So I've done this once before in a team, and I wanted to see if I could do it solo, albeit on Master, not Grandmaster. But it's definitely doable. I just had some bad luck timing it on this run, and I tried to do it again, to be honest, even though I completed the run anyway. I got my solo flawless done, and I was just going to put this video up, and I said, well, wait a second, why don't I just try again? It didn't take me that long to get to Sedia. It's like a 20-25 minute run if you can just kill her right there, and not have to go into the Ascendant Realm. So I decided to try again, and same thing, I got my timing better, but she didn't teleport. So I don't know what it is. Maybe you have to damage her more when she's on the left side. Like as soon as you break her shield, maybe you have to damage her a bit to get her to go to the other side. But basically I was just breaking her shield and then immediately prepping T-Crash to get her on the right side when she teleported. And both times she never teleported. over to the right. She just straight up went to the Ascendant Realm. So I think she might only teleport to the right asteroids if you do some damage to her right after breaking her shield while she's on the left. So I gotta try that, but I don't know if I'm gonna have time to do it, and quite frankly I'm exhausted of this mission. It's not my favorite mission. I just wanted to be able to do solo flawless on it and learn the mission a little bit better. So, but with all that said, it's not one of my favorite Nightfalls at all. I don't like a lot of the Taken missions. I don't like kind of the dark black and white realm. And then there's parts of this Nightfall that I do like it's a unique boss fight, it's a unique Nightfall. Some of the map is quite pretty, like this section here where you're going through this kind of amethyst cave, you know, Dreaming City aesthetics. I like that, but overall, I find the mission just kind of annoying up until Sedia. I don't mind Sedia, although she, like, some of the physics and the mechanics of that fighting her can be really annoying too, because you can get thrown off map and you can get one shot. There's no amount of resistance that you can stack to avoid her sniper shot. If she hits you with a direct impact, especially from long range, you're just gonna straight up die. And this is on master and I'm at power, and I believe it's the same whether you're doing a Vanguard Op strike. No matter what, she just has the potential to one shot you. So yeah, other than that, you know, like I said, Cuirass of the Falling Star is not a bad choice if Lightning Crystals is the modifier. But you got to realize, if you're not going with Heart of Inmost Light on Arc Titan, it's going to feel kind of dramatically harder. You know, we're all used to the play style with Touch of Thunder grenades, whether it's storm grenades or pulse grenades, doesn't matter. You know, having that uptime on all your abilities, it makes the whole play style easy, and you really notice it when you take the exotic off. Like, it's not that that's a bad thing. Like, it could be, like, if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more and rely less on grenade spam and ability spam, more on map awareness, gun skill, you know, stuff like that, then yeah, challenge yourself. But just generally speaking, if you want to get these done, like Heart of Inmost Light is quickest, easiest way to do stuff on Titan, at least with Arc, and it's fun. Frankly, it's a fun playstyle. I like ability spam. I don't like totally mindless ability spam. That's why I don't use storm grenades as much as pulse grenades. I'll only use storm grenades if I'm using them strategically, like on moving targets or targets that I can't get an angle on. But I like pulse grenades. I like that you at least have to aim your grenade, and then not only that, but they're slept on for sure. I've been saying this since last season, before storm grenades got nerfed, that pulse grenades with touch of thunder do incredible damage. So other than that, I probably should have commented on the elevator section, but this is my first solo flawless on this Nightfall. There's lots of people out there soloing this on Grandmaster. You can always go and watch their videos. Some of them do commentary and explain how the elevator section works, even solo. And they're way more experienced than with this than I am. But I've kind of, you know, watched how other people do it, learned from people in LFG. You know, I've done this on Grandmaster a few times, so I kind of know how it works. But doing it solo is like, that's when you're really kind of stepping into cold water and figuring it out for yourself how to do it solo without a team, based on kind of the stuff that you've learned. So for the elevator section, you know, you just it takes 2 orbs to break some of their shields, but if you have a Thundercrash ready and with lightning crystals and pulse grenades, or even if lightning crystals is not the modifier and you're using Heart of Inmost Light, you can generally control the elevator section. As long as you're quick, as long as you're rotating around the map quickly and avoiding getting bashed off, then it's fairly doable. But it's still, I'd say it's probably the hardest part of this Nightfall, for sure. And if you don't have good ad clear and good kind of clutch awareness and movement, it could be a really hard encounter in solo. But so then you get to this this first section of where you go back and forth between the Ascendant Realm and the real world, I guess. And so in the opening of this encounter in the real world, you get the Ogre and you get an Unstoppable. So what you can do if you have Thundercrash ready, so even though I didn't get my Sedia nuke in the end here, I did have to chase her into the Ascendant Realm, but Cuirass of the Falling Star wasn't all lost anyway, because I was still able to just straight up take out Unstoppables, you know, 1 stun and a T-crash, and they're done. You know, without Cuirass, a Thundercrash will do like a little more than half damage or something like that. So it did have some perks. And then, but yeah, so once you locate where that Unstoppable is, right at the beginning, there's 3 spawns. The Ogre's going to spawn in one spot. The Unstoppable can spawn in like the front center, or the back left, or the back right. If you can locate the Unstoppable and get a stun off, make sure you're not too quick to like shoot a Wither Horde or a grenade to get the stun. Just make sure that you actually stun the Unstoppable, because if you try to stun them like too soon after they spawn, sometimes it doesn't proc. The stun just won't work. So just make sure they're fully spawned in. Make sure you see on the left side of your screen, you know, champion stunned, or even the audio cue is not that reliable. Or even if it looks like they're stunned, it's not as reliable as just the text on your left side of your screen. But generally you should be fine. But if you can get a T-crash off, you can get rid of that Unstoppable right away, which means that you can then focus on killing the Ogre in the real world as quick as possible. You'll transport to the I guess it's the Ascendant Realm or the Corrupted Realm. I don't know. I didn't play Forsaken, so please forgive my lack of knowledge and jargon for this part of Destiny, but we'll just call it the Ascendant Realm. So you'll teleport back and forth, but basically you don't have to worry about any more champions in the real world. You can just get rid of the Ogre. And then in the Ascendant Realm, before you kill the Ogre, you need to kill 2 Unstoppables. So there's 2 in the Ascendant Realm. Once you kill those 2, then you can take out the Ogre. So don't nuke the Ogre right away. Make sure that you find those unstoppables. Pay attention to your text, because here's another thing too. Sometimes your damage over time, like your tick damage weapons like Wither Horde and grenades, they can get kills for you while you're transporting back into the other world. You know, and meanwhile your grenade's still doing damage in that world, and you didn't know that you killed an unstoppable, for example. So pay attention to the text on your screen, because you're not always going to see the results. But if you're not sure, just go and do some map rotation. You know, kill all the other ads obviously first. There's 3 shriekers. Take those out. Leave the big ogre up and just scout the area and make sure there is no unstoppables. So if you know that if you can't find them, if you know you killed them, then it's okay. You just go ahead, kill the ogre, and then you get to this next section where you saw I took out 2 unstoppables up at the top there. Then there's a bunch of taken ads, and then there's 2 unstops down here. And here I was a little sure I did so much damage with Wither Horde. I think I got a double stun and then some really good pulse grenades, and I killed both those unstoppables without realizing it. And then there's going to be 2 overloads, one on left, one on right. Sometimes the overload will spawn up at the top of the bridge right next to you before you even go down to the unstoppables. So you do have to kind of watch out for that. Some of the spawns and the like teleporting of the champions is a little bit wonky. So the only real threat in this section here is the there's a yellow bar ultra in the middle. He's usually on the right side, kind of mid-right, hanging out next to that overload there. They're the dangerous ones, so they can like 1 or 2 shot you, but if you damage them a little bit, then they're gonna cower and put up their little taken bubble and hide in there, and they basically don't do anything to you while they're hiding in their bubble. So if they're posing a real threat and shooting at you and you're trying to deal with overloads, just either nuke the ultra or just damage it enough so that it puts its shield up and leaves you alone. And then you can just do what you got to do. On my second run, where I tried again to do my to nuke Sidia, I just used T-Crash and got rid of that ultra right away, and then I focused the last overload. And actually, so the first overload this is how I know this, it teleported to the top before you go down the ramp. So I was able to take out the overload before even taking out the 2 unstoppables down at the middle section of the bridge. And then, so this section here, this can also kill you pretty easily. The trick here is just wait a second. Make sure that all the asteroids spawn in and the taken blights start rotating. And like, just make sure everything is where it's supposed to be and doing what it's supposed to do, because you can drop down there before all that stuff spawns in, and then you'll just straight up die. So just pay attention to that. There's an overload here on this asteroid. He'll often fall off the map. But just be careful here, because the void shielded dudes there, they're just blasting you. Like, they do a lot of damage from that range. So you kind of have to play carefully here. Just make sure, if you can, try and take out as many of those void shields before traversing. So I haven't talked about the weapons I'm using here. Pretty straightforward. Wither Horde for stunning unstoppables and tick damage. And then I'm using Come to Pass, which ever since I first did the Corrupted a couple seasons ago, I've been running this assault rifle in this strike because I've got Adaptive Munitions and Genesis on it. And I'm not normally a huge fan of Adaptive Munitions on like Master, Grandmaster content because it just takes too long to take the match game shields down. Yeah, it's quicker than other stuff, but like it's still too slow, and it still gives the enemy too much of a chance to go and hide and regen their shield, and then you got to do the work all over again. But with that said, if you're matching the acute burn, then Adaptive Munitions is actually alright. It's pretty good. Like you could see all throughout this strike, you know, I'm not using solar, I'm not using void, I'm taking out all the shields, no problem, with come to pass. And the cool thing with Genesis, which is what I'm showcasing in the opening clip, like how many match game shields did I burn through in that opening clip without ever having to reload? Every time you break a shield with this gun, it reloads the mag because of Genesis. And so Adaptive Munitions obviously lets you break any shields. So it's a really good assault rifle. It's been buffed at least once or twice as well over the last year, so that this archetype of assault rifle is actually pretty decent. Like the stability on it has gotten much better. Like the first season or two that it came out, it was kind of a little bit the visual recoil on it was a little bit too much, so it just kind of made it not fun to use at range. Like it just wasn't doing work at range at all. But since they've fixed the archetype and stabilized it a bit more, I don't know if they gave it a range extension so that you do more damage at range as well, but it just feels way better. So outside of this strike or other Nightfalls with an arc burn and, you know, non-matching match game shields, I'll go with this auto rifle, but otherwise I'm not using it a whole lot. But obviously we can stun on overloads with auto rifles this season, so so it plays the part well for this. And then outside of that, it's a Psychohack, which is the origin trait, which means that as you damage targets with the weapon, you lower their damage output to you. You damage them, they damage you less. That's how overload rounds work as well. So you can overload any enemy, regardless of whether or not they're overload champions, and essentially make them do less damage to you. Psychohack is basically overload, except it won't stun overloads. You know, you need the mod that lets you stun overloads, but you're basically applying the same effect with Psychohack. So it works pretty well for you know, in a sense, it's like a damage resistance. Mind you, you're not getting actual damage resistance to, you know, all the ads and everything that's shooting you, but to single targets, whatever you're shooting in the moment. And if it's a threatening target that normally does a lot of damage, that they're doing less damage to you, it's essentially the same thing as having more damage resistance, at least to that target's damage output. So it's pretty good for that. And then I'm also using Tarnation, which I never use, but heavy grenade launchers are getting a buff next season, so I figured why not mess around with it, try and get used to this. And frankly, I wasn't relying on heavy weapons so much in this strike anyways, because I've got lightning crystals with pulse grenades, and I've got Cuirass of the Falling Star with Thundercrash, and I'm using ashes to assets as well. So, you know, all my grenade kills are charging up my super. I could have been way more liberal on using my super. I probably could have used it almost twice as much as I did. But basically the point is, if I really need to damage something quickly, then I could just use Thundercrash, or I can just, you know, spam pulse grenades. So it's not a big deal. But this grenade launcher's also got Psychohack on it too, so it's kind of too bad that we don't have the Psychohack artifact mod anymore. Otherwise, I probably would have used it. But this thing's got field prep and chain reaction. So yeah, so watch the damage here. Okay, with the aftershock, she'll be less than half health. So the direct impact does like a little over 30%, probably 40%. And then the aftershock takes her down below half health. So that was what led me to believe that I can outright kill her right here without ever having to transport. And I think you get platinum regardless, because it's only if you spawn in more champions and then don't kill them, that's when you lose platinum rank. So I think if she doesn't teleport and you kill her, then you don't spawn in those champions in the Ascendant Realm, and therefore you still get platinum. I'm not 100% sure on it. Like I said, like I had to try and test it, and I haven't been successful in testing it solo either. Like I said, I've done this on Grandmaster and a team where we kill her right here. But I don't remember if we got platinum or not. I mean, obviously we got... well, we got the adept weapon, because that's where I got my horrors least that I have. Got a couple that I got from this Grandmaster. But yeah, like I said, this Nightfall in general, I'm not super well versed on it. So now you've got the solar shielded knights, and they're pretty deadly. So not only can Sedia one-shot you if you stay still and let her, basically, if she has an angle on you at all, she'll straight up kill you. But the solar shielded knights, like if I go to the front of this little rock that I'm on, like up to the next piece of cover while staying on this asteroid, the knights will be able to hit me from there, and they do solar damage. So on GM, like, that'll melt you. Like, if you get hit by their solar blast and you're sitting in it for like a second, you're dead. So I didn't really want to mess around with it, and they're too far for me to use my assault rifle and break their shield. Like the gun, even though I'm vouching for it being alright for this Nightfall with Adaptive Munitions and Genesis and Heartbird and all that, it's still, you know, it obviously has limitations like any weapons at range. If you're at like an insane range, you just don't have the damage. So I had to take a risk and just try and keep moving. Don't stay still for more than a second so that Sidia can't snipe me. And spam pulse grenades, spam come to pass, and just get rid of these solar shields ASAP. And the other thing you have to watch out for is her push attack that she does with the green circle on the ground. There's an audio cue every time she does it. It's kind of like a ramping up high-pitched sound. If you hear that sound, get away. And preferably start sprinting. That's why I'm using Seismic Strike. Because if I can, at least if I can sprint around, then I know that if I do get thrown off map or whatever, I could potentially Seismic Strike my way back onto the map. So again, here I'm with solo operative at least. See, I swear that she was going to spawn right there. Like I saw the little spawn bubble came up and everything, and so I thought that was, she was teleporting over to that side. That's why I threw the ball from the right asteroid as well. But I think the strat is, well, the reason I wanted to be on the right and close to her when she goes to teleport there was because you get all those flying asteroids in between the middle in between the middle platforms and the right platform. There's a bunch of asteroids flying by. So if you break Sedia's shield, and then she teleports over to the right, then you gotta go across that little channel and avoid the flying asteroids. So if you, that can kill you. Like then you're just relying on luck because you've only got like 2-3 seconds to damage her. So if you pop Thundercrash and then you hit an asteroid, then you're dead. So I wanted to be on the right side, right next to where she would teleport to. But I think because I didn't damage her at all after I broke her shield while she was on the left side, I think she just decided to just not teleport over to right, and she just left. And the same thing happened on the second time I did it. So, and the only thing I did different on the second time was I damaged her at the middle, and I broke her shield from the middle, and I just waited. I tried to get the timing right on the flying asteroids behind me. So I made sure that they had passed by first, then broke her shield, because there's about 10 seconds of clean space where you can get across. So I figured wait till the asteroids go, as soon as they go by, break her shield, then get ready to pop Thundercrash and meet her on the right side where she teleports to. But again, same thing, I didn't damage her on the left, so I think that might be why she didn't teleport. So that was kind of a bummer, because that was the whole reason I really wanted to do this this build and everything, was to nuke her solo and not give her a chance to come over here. Just finish the mission earlier, get platinum, and call it a day. But instead I had to chase her over here, which I still got it done, so it's not a big deal. And for most people watching this, if you are trying to do it solo, chances are you're not gonna nuke her on in the other realm. Like, probably at least 90% of players are finishing the mission over here. You know, like I said, it's more if you're in a well coordinated team and you've really got your damage optimized, where you can just straight up nuke her. But I think a part of that is RNG as well. So even if you do have a plan to do it and you know you can, just things might not happen in your favor because of RNG. And it wouldn't surprise me, because this is a pretty buggy Nightfall. Like, you've seen that in the elevator room, that one taken Ogre or Knight or whatever it is. Like, he's just flashing around all over the place. Like, 1 second he's here, 1 second he's there. It's like you just gotta like spread your weather hordes and your pulse grenades out all over the place and hope he just teleports into one of them to damage him. So, a little bit annoying. So here I come up to, and by the way, I'm using Striking Light again, like I just did for the Communion, because, well, because I'm not that good at this Nightfall. I'm not super experienced with it, and a lot of it does rely on running around, like mainly the elevator room. That's when you got to rotate, and if you can't make it past the elevator room, then you can't finish the Nightfall. So. So I kind of felt like I had to use Striking Light at least for that. But once you go to meet her up here, you have to go over to her rock and get the ads spawn, and then you can come back here. And it used to be that you couldn't do that. Like, you couldn't come back to that spot. You would get teleported, or you'd get joining allies and get sent back over here. See, look, I just got knocked off map. I would have been... Oh, I just got lucky there. I got lucky with straight up sprinting and jumping. Like, I didn't even have to use my seismic strike, but that was a super close call. If I would have been too far off, I obviously would have seismic strike. So, and then here, because I hadn't done this so much solo, I forgot that it takes 3 balls to break your shield again. you know, so that's what you lose out on not nuking her in the other realm, is that you have to go through this phase where you, if you're doing it in a team, you can just pass the ball back and forth between your teammates. It charges the ball up and one shots her shield. But if you're doing it solo, you gotta hit her 3 times. On GM, you gotta hit her 4 or 5 times, and it could make a difference if you're using solo operative or not. So, but I'm using solo op, and with that, it's 3. I'm at power, obviously. It's 3 balls that breaks the shields. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please feel free to leave a subscription, like, follow, leave a comment. I'm happy to discuss whatever people got to talk about in the comments. So other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.